Welcome to the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast.
Hello everyone, this is Jarvis Escott with What's Happening Birmingham. I am back with part 2 with Isaac Cooper. He is CEO, Managing Partner of IMC Financial Consulting, and we are about to talk about retirement. So the first part, we're talking about stocks. So a lot of you probably don't have stocks, but everybody, we hope, has hope. We're going to do that with a big,
That's right.
HOPE, hope.
All caps.
Have a retirement plan trying in the process of planning for retirement. So, I want to bring back my good friend Isaac.
Yes, sir.
Again, we're going to have this great, as y'all said, the first video, I told y'all I got my questions. So, if you see me looking down, not like I'm texting anybody, it's just that I want to make sure we get all these questions because this is a very important topic, especially about retirement. Because, Lord willing, it's coming day you want to retire.
Yeah. So,
the first question I want to ask you is, how can you find money to save for retirement? I know that's a dumb question, but how can you...
Yeah, no, it's actually a very powerful question. Because typically those that have some type of retirement vehicle is usually through their employer, right? And so one of the words that I took out as you were asking the question is, how can I find money, right? So now that means we're looking for something outside of that, right? That typically plays into part with some of the budgeting and cash flow on aspects of one's responsibilities, right? And so let's say you have 7 months left on paying down your car note. And let's say it's $500 a month, right? That $500 a month, depending upon what type of process you've gone through when it pertains to forecasting how much you need, right? Because that's really the first step you got to walk through, right? We got to get some type of understanding of how much am I going to need 10, 20, 30 years from now. It depends on how far away you are from retiring. I talk to folks all the time. They say, you may ask, all right, when you want to retire? I'm like, man, tomorrow, right? Which I can understand.
All right.
But we have to have some type of flagpole to dictate, hey, this is when we're not going to turn the car off, but we may put it in neutral, right? And just roll a bit. So getting an understanding of how much you're going to need, right? If it's $5,000 a month, $3,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever that monthly expense is going to dictate if you need to put additional dollars towards retirement. And so finding money ultimately is being very, and I was going to say, you're a good steward of our time with your notes. So I appreciate the notes.
Thank you.
So ultimately, you got to be a good steward with your money to identify where there are dollars that may not be in its best use, considering what type of lifestyle we're looking to live 10 years from now. If you're looking at travel. And then one of the things with the clients that we've been working with that are in, ages 50, 60, and 70s, health expense, right? That is another factor, right? And so ultimately finding the money is being very aware of where your money is going currently, and then agreeing with it, right? Because typically once you become aware of where your money is going currently, you may say, I didn't know I was spending that much on this, right? And so if that is somewhere in which we can knock down a few notches, if it's, hey, I'm just throwing numbers out. Hey, I'm spending $1,000 a month eating out. We drop that down $200. That's $2,400 a year you can apply towards some long-term savings, right? If you have, from all these different subscriptions and you're only using 3 of them that cost $30, but your reoccurring expenses are $175, right? That's $145, $150 that you can save, right? That's $1,800 out the year. We just found $4,200 of which we can put into a vehicle for long terms. And so identifying additional dollars or finding money for retirement is knowing where your money is going currently, and then ensuring that, one, the necessities are taken care of, and then as we look to address and create the lifestyle and the bucket of money that we need to be able to live in retirement, we can then put some dollars towards it.
So I know what some of you all are thinking right now, as we are kind of talking about this topic. I know about retirement, but I got Social Security. Social Security is supposed to take care of me.
Yeah.
I know that's a loaded question, because a lot of you feel like, man, it may not be here by the time we.
Well, that's a valid statement. And so those that may be dependent upon Social Security, I hope that you are probably around 55 and up. Social Security has released information. The government has released information that they are not fully equipped to continue to deal with the cost or the dollars that are necessary, because when Social Security was actually originally started, the life expectancy at the time was an additional 2-3 years.
All right.
As soon as they hit Social Security age, right?
Oh, okay.
So think about those that hit the age of, if it's 62 to 65, whatever it may be, and then they live till they're 90. So you got a bucket that was created to last 2 to 3 years, probably 5 years max.
Wow.
And now it's being pulled on for 25, 30 years by a whole bunch of folks.
Wow.
Right? And so that's why you see that they push the Social Security age farther and farther back to address it. Right?
Okay.
But what we're coming up, and I know you didn't ask this, but I have to mention it.
Okay.
Starting in 2020, over the next 3 to 4 years, 70 to 75% of the baby boomers will be retiring.
Wow.
So the dollars that go into Social Security to be able to feed this, right, to be able to put this money out, 75% of that workforce is about to retire. And now they're going to be pulling from it that's already underfunded, right? And so how the government is going to mitigate that, we have yet to see. But I want to say there was a study that I saw in which they had 3 options. They could either increase taxes or defer the time in which you could take Social Security, or they could do both.
Wow.
Right? And they have to do something. And so, Social Security is it can be an asset to your game plan. And if you're already getting information, you should get a statement on what your forecasted monthly amount is. Make sure you just sit down with a professional to identify when you should, take that out if you're, married. There's a few moving parts to that for sure.
You know what I was thinking about as well. This is not my list of questions, but it just came to me. What about if you own your own business?
In regards to retirement
planning.
Yeah. So owning your business, you have a number of risks when it comes to owning your business. And so hopefully at some point you were able to stabilize revenue, stabilize income to where you can start setting money aside for the future. There's a few vehicles that are typically used, especially, real estate agents.
Yeah.
They're essentially business owners in some form or fashion. They utilize solo 401ks or SEP IRAs, right? Investment vehicles like that. But it's the same type of forecasting and projecting, right? We have to be aware of the lifestyle and the expenses that you're looking to occur on a month-to-month basis. But we also have to be aware of your exit plan when it comes to this business, right? And so there's some, of course, taxation and things to be aware of in the process of them, either liquidating or transitioning out of that business and ensuring that entity is able to produce the monthly income stream to allow them to be able to say, hey, instead of me working 6 days a week, I'm just going to work 6 days a month, right? And so be able to have that option. And because ultimately retirement is less of the time in which you're looking to retire, but it really ensuring you have the pot of money to be able to spend that time, right? And so, great question.
So let's talk about 401ks.
Yeah.
That's a term that a lot of people get once you get your job, and the reason why some of you all probably take certain jobs to make sure they have a great 401k plan.
Yeah.
So kind of explain what 401k and vesting and all that.
Yeah. And I keep going into history, but so 401ks actually came about in the early 1980s. I want to say 1981 to be exact. And the reason why it actually became popular on accident. That's what's funny. So during that time frame prior to, pensions were the retirement vehicle of choice, right? And with pensions, you didn't have to necessarily put money in. Your employer would take care of that investment and that cost. And employers saw how costly it was. Like, okay, we're putting $3, $4, $5 million into this plan for their retirement. What other options do we have? Around 1980 and 1981, I want to say the marginal tax rate, which essentially the highest tax rate, was in the 70 percentile, right? 70% and up.
All right.
So you had high income earners looking for areas in which they could defer taxes.
All right.
Right? Because if you're getting taxed 70%, you want to find somewhere in which you can, either defer that tax amount. So 401ks were part of that whole process. And so it became very attractive because they were able to defer taxes. And also employers said, all right, we don't have to take on the responsibility of paying for the retirement. Now we can shift that responsibility to the employer. That's why you could put in 3%, 4%, 5%, and then they match it, right?
All right.
So now it offsets some of that cost for them. So one of the questions you asked is the vested, right?
Yeah,
when do I
vested,
become vested? So typically that's a certain time frame in which you have to be with the employer.
Yeah.
Maybe 90 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year, whatever it may be. It's all dependent upon them. For them to then match whatever percentage that they mentioned. And so 401k is actually, we could go into a group of any company, any organization, any municipality, 401k, 403b, 457a. Those are all cousins. They all operate.
They're cousins.
And if we get in front of them and we ask them, okay, those that have been working for 15 years,
all right,
10 years.
All right.
What is the largest account that you've been able to save into consistently?
All right.
90% of the time, they're going to say their 401k.
Wow. Okay.
And if you ask them why, well, they take it out of my check before I can touch it.
Yeah.
Right? And so what I love about the 401k is that it automates the process and it already takes the emotion out of it because you do that once you sign up for your benefits. The balance to that is that you may have some free money associated to it, the match, right? And so if you have a match, we always encourage our clients to go up to the match. Anything on top of that, we can look at some alternatives if need be.
All right, I know what you all are thinking as well. Like, okay, well, that's my money. And if I leave that job, and the next question, I think I didn't have it on the list of questions, but I know a lot of you probably think about, because things happen in life.
Most definitely.
And you say, well, I need to tap into that 401k. I need to get, explain the pros, the cons, the risks, the tax liabilities.
Well, so whenever there are unexpected expenses, you typically need a pot of money to have access to, right? What we talk about here at IMC is what we'd like to say the difference between liquidity and access.
Yes.
So liquidity is something in which you've been able to possibly save into consistently, money that you have in your checkings and savings. Access may be money that you can tap into that may be someone else's, like the bank's money, right? Like an unsecured credit card.
Yes.
If those options, when it pertains to an event that may cause you to have access to some money in some form or fashion, and both of those options are not an option, and you say, all right, I got to pull out of my 401k, there is going to be some consequences. There's going to be some consequences. Yes. Depending upon your age, if you tap into this dollar amount, and again, there's a few areas in which you are able to avoid this penalty, but you're ultimately going to incur a 10% penalty, right? Because you're not allowed to touch it until after 59.5, unless you fit a few areas. If you're looking at, first-time home buyer, right? Hardship withdrawal. There's certain areas in which you're able to avoid that 10%, but also you're going to be taxed at your ordinary income rate, right? And so add 10% to your ordinary income rate. That is what you're ultimately will be able to receive if you pull money out. But also you disrupted the snowball you've been accumulating over the past 5, 10, 15 years for whatever event that is. And so the best way to avoid that, to circumvent that, is to ensure that you have a proper plan in place for a worst case scenario. But again, life happens, medical expenses, and things happen where, thank God there was a bucket that you could pull from. And so, it's not the end of the world if you had to tap into your 401k. We see it all the time. We just want to ensure that we sure up,
all
right, the nature of the vehicle and the purpose of the vehicle for the long-term objectives for the household.
So what I see sometimes people do, like take the loans. Is that the same thing? Take a loan?
Yeah, well, you could take a loan. It's an option.
All right.
It's definitely an option.
Okay.
And it's not as detrimental as liquidating your 401k, right? So yeah.
All right.
An option.
So I have next term IRAs, Roth IRAs, traditional. What are those?
Yeah. IRA, individual retirement account, right? So that's what the IRA stands for. If you want to think about, all right, so I hear traditional I hear traditional IRA and then I hear Roth IRA.
All right.
Speaking on 401k, now you see Roth 401ks as options, right? But again, going back to traditional and Roth, the first question to ask yourself is like, when do I want the tax break, right? So with the traditional IRA, let's say you make $100,000 a year. You say, all right, Isaac, I'm going to put $5,000 into a traditional IRA. And I say, okay, fantastic. Well, your tax break is going to be up front. You are able to deduct that contribution from your ordinary income, in which instead of you getting taxed on $100,000, now you're getting taxed on $95,000.
All right.
Right? Now, if you do that over the course of 20 years, that is $100,000 that you put into that investment vehicle. Let's say it grows to $500,000. The moment you are looking to pull money out, let's say you're 60 years old, you're going to be taxed on that full amount.
Wow.
Right? So, but you're able to get the tax break up front. So you may be able to avoid, getting into the next tax bracket. So there are many benefits by utilizing a traditional IRA. A Roth IRA, you get the tax break on the back end, right? And so ultimately, same scenario. Let's say you make $100,000 a year. You put $5,000 into a Roth IRA. Mm-hmm. Whenever you do your taxes, you're going to get taxed on $100,000, right? Okay. And so, but let's say same scenario, you do it over a 20-year period. That's $100,000. It grows to $500,000 when you pull that money out as tax-free. And so, if you say, Isaac, which one is better? Well, it depends. Right. It depends on your situation, and it depends on the taxation of the vehicles that you have currently. But they are both great vehicles for long-term planning. If you're young, not much going on financially, you're looking to start saving for the future, complement your 401k, Roth IRA may be a good option.
All right. And another thing just kind of came to my list of questions. Should I save for retirement? Well, this one's while for college. Should I save for retirement or my child's college education first?
Ooh. Some folks may disagree with this answer.
Okay.
You can get a loan for school. You can't get a loan for retirement.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so I'm not saying you shouldn't do anything for your child's education. We just want to be mindful of what you're truly sacrificing, right? To be able to provide some dollars that we may be able to offset through a loan in some form of fashion. So I don't think there's an either or answer to that, like this or that. Okay. I just think we need to identify a way in which we could be a hybrid. We could do both. That does not disrupt your ability to be able to, live the way you would like to in the future, and not delay the time in which you are able to say, okay, instead of me working 5 days a week, maybe do some consulting on the side, see my grandbabies, travel a little bit.
Okay. Well, and also I like when you was saying all that as well, is like, if you don't save for retirement, somebody else going to have to take care of you because you ain't got enough money. Your kids going to have to take care of you because you don't have enough money to take care of yourself.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so now that burden is on, I have both of my parents are alive, and one of the returns that I look to provide for them is to be able to allow them to be comfortable once they look to make that decision. But if it is something that is unexpected, now that financial constraint is on the household that's taking care of you, and if it's your kids, now that has hindered their ability. And so we've created this effect of dependence in a time in which you should be independent.
All right, another thing I was thinking about as you was going through the questions about 401ks, pension, are the same thing? Pension plans?
Yeah, so pensions, we are seeing less and less of pensions, going back to my earlier point, because of the costs, right? And then as well, I would say the maturation of companies. So it's typically more mature companies are providing pensions. So yeah, pensions. If you have a pension, make sure you partake. And shout out to wherever you're working, because that is somewhat an anomaly now, right? Like it is. It's rare, but it's a fantastic vehicle. Of course, those that teachers, they are able to qualify depending upon the state in which they reside in, based off how they're invested. So retirement system or the RSA through the state of Alabama, they have an infrastructure that way. And so It's definitely a great vehicle. Government workers usually have robust pension products.
All right. Do they still do the 529?
Yeah, they do. 529 plans. Right. They do. They
All
do.
Right.
And so you can easily set those up online. So if you're looking to do that for either your child or a grandbaby, is less than 5 minutes. You can set it up online. And if you need someone to guide you through that process, it's a few steps. Put in your basic information, put in the child's information, and select how you want to be invested. It's actually pretty simple. I have a 6-month-old. It took me less than 5 minutes.
Or for these people out here that's old school, I'm doing some CDs and I'm doing some savings bonds and what about those things these days?
Well, it may warrant that may warrant their investment based off their risk appetite, right? And so we always want to make sure we take into consideration how risky one needs to be, and again, when do you need to have access to the money, right? And so if we are in a stage of life and where we transition from accumulation to preservation, those are the type of products we may be looking at to ensure that there is no type of risk associated with their money being in the market.
All right. So when it comes to retirement, how does IMC Financial Consulting help their clients in retirement planning? Great segue. Give y'all this free information now. Y'all got to say enough. So
that's right. If you've been able to see part 1 as well with this part 2, we have a pretty consistent rhythm when it comes to the plan, right? We want to make sure that you have an adequate plan that allows you to be able to forecast confidently for the future. So it takes into account inflation, it takes into account taxation, it takes into account the lifestyle expenses that you currently live in the vehicles that live off of, and the vehicles that you currently have to potentially get you there. So from providing assessments to give them information, again, education on their current situation, and then giving them exposure on how they could get to those goals and objectives. So again, it all boils down to having that meeting and getting clarity on what they're looking to get accomplished. To make sure that where they are executing their game plan is aligned with the vehicles that they have in place, and then we just help them navigate through the steps and the questions throughout that journey. Because again, the accumulation process of retirement and assets takes one level of skill set and awareness when it pertains to just financial management. The decumulation, right, is another component of it, right? And so there's so many things that change over time that we have to be aware of, and there's certain aspects of one's lifestyle that we have to consider as we make decisions. And so we just ultimately, you know how you go to the bowling alley and they have those guardrails up? That's what we do with our forecasting, right? Like, we're gonna make sure you're gonna hit the pins, right? We just got to make sure we are aware of your trajectory and your journey and what you're looking to get accomplished to make sure it's set up correctly.
All right, so if people would like to schedule an appointment with my good friend Isaac, what's that contact information, phone number?
Yes, sir.
Like
so our 1-800 number, 658-5702. Again, 1-800-658-5702. I sound like telemarketer. Then our website, www.planning.com. You can find us on Facebook, IMC Financial Consulting, and then as well, me personally, Isaac Cooper. Instagram as well, IMC_Financial Consulting. Twitter, you can find us planning_22. But yeah, man, Google, you can Google us. You'll find us. You'll definitely find us. And again, the mean or the method of communication, you'll be able to get to one of our team members, and we'll make sure that we promptly schedule a meeting. And then we do have a link on our website to where you can go through a quick 3 to 5 minute questionnaire that will naturally propel your information to us. And then we can schedule an initial consultation from there.
One final question. I'll be remiss if I end this video without asking you this, and I should ask you this on the first video. What are some red flags to look out for when choosing like a financial advisor? Because there's so many people out here say they can do it, and sometimes people get very leery of it. And let me just tell y'all this too. People I bring on my podcast, these folks are certified. You can Google these people, whether it's health, finance, law. So I'm just telling you out there, I wouldn't have people on these videos if I didn't speak and vouch for them. So let me just put that out there.
I appreciate that, brother. Yes, sir.
So But what are some things people should look out for when choosing? Because, out here these days, people are so afraid, when they hear these stories and they watch American Greed and, people run off with people money and stuff. So what should you want to tell people?
Yeah, and there's a lot of terms out there. You got financial advisors, you got financial planners, you have financial coaches, you have financial consultants. We call ourselves financial mechanics, right? Like there's so many different terms out there when it comes to getting financial help, personal finance experts, right? There's different levels, but like you said, the first red flag is if you sit down with someone and they talk the first 30 minutes, that's a problem.
Wow. Okay.
That's a problem because in order to get an understanding of if there is a good fit, we have to be aware of what you're looking to get accomplished. Right? We need to be aware of your goals and objectives. If you're sitting in front of someone and again, they're just talking about returns and, if you invest this money, it's all going to boil down to this plan, right? And the consultation and the information you're able to get around these decisions. And then as well, you can look folks up, like you said, you can check their track record and see what's going on with them in regards of their history. But yeah, ultimately, I would say the find someone that you trust, find someone that which you can be transparent with. But also someone in which if you say, hey, I don't think we're a good fit, they say, you know what, if there's someone I can identify that can help you with this, I'm totally fine with that, right? Like just, again, comfort is probably the most important thing because if you're not comfortable, you're not transparent. If you're not transparent, we can't be transformative, right? And so there's definitely steps to it. There are, different certifications. There's individuals that have their CFP. I'm in the process of getting my CFP. I actually received a full scholarship for it based off the work we've done in the community. Thank you. Yeah, through the American College. Actually, the first in the state of Alabama to get a full scholarship through this program.
Congratulations.
And so there's different areas, of certifications of which that could be an indicator. But ultimately, if you have someone that you can trust, someone, that has some experience with working with people, someone that will be transparent and not transactional. Walking around with commission breath, if that makes sense. There's plenty of platforms, plenty of companies. There's insurance-based companies that have access to investment products. There's investment-based companies that have access to insurance products. So they're all over the globe. It's just about the people that represent that company.
All right, and something I want to say too. If you cannot Google and find these people, I'm just going to leave it like that. In this day of internet technology, you Google people. If you don't see a lot about them, just saying. That's all I'm believing like that. We all Google. Like y'all probably gonna Google him after he's gonna find a lot of content about him. So I'm just saying that's something I tell people. That just go with doing business with anybody. You can't Google them. Just or ask around, things like that. So Isaac, man, I really enjoyed this, man.
And I've enjoyed this, brother.
I think for the viewers out there, I hope y'all found this very educational and most important, education and more knowledge. And of course, I want you all to please hit him up, call, sit down, because just as personable he is sitting here, he'll be the same thing to you. And I'm going to bring him back for some more future sessions because I'm thinking in my head already, I want to talk about gold, silver.
Yeah, look, we can talk about opportunity zones.
Opportunity zone. People getting married.
Oh, yeah.
Love and finance, all that mixed together. So, man, I just want to thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
I'm going to say luck or just blessings.
Yes, sir.
And just triple blessings after this video hits and everything.
And reciprocity as well.
Well,
man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for being
this is all about, education and, like I always say, what's happening in Birmingham about people that's making things happen. And this man is making things happen now, and you're going to see him in the years to come. And when the years come, you come back to my video.
That's right.
I had him first, y'all. So thank you for watching this video, everyone. Please check out what's happening Birmingham.com for more videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank y'all again and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast. Please check out our website, app, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos today.